Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. Adequate notice having been posted by the posting of notices with the Township Clerk, South Jersey Times, and all board members having been notified. A regular meeting is being held virtually for due to COVID-19, and for directions to the meeting, go to our website, www.logantownshipschools.org. As governed by our board policy 0167, the presiding officer may waive rules when necessary to maintain an orderly operation of the board meeting. And since this is a remote board meeting, the board president has decided to have only one public participation to pose any question, whether listed on the agenda or not. Roll call.
Oh, that's my fault. I apologize. Give me 1 minute, please. I was not prepared for that part. Okay, Mr. Donnelly.
Here.
Mrs. Kegler.
Here.
Mr. Bowen.
Here.
Mrs. Hill.
Here.
Mrs. Lombardo.
Here.
Mrs. Mason. Absent. Mrs. Reed.
Here.
Mr. Russell.
Mr. Russell is trying to get on. Jake, can you respond to the email I just sent you so you can send him the link? Did Jake hear me?
Pat, I hear. I can respond to him.
Thank you. He just needs the link.
Everybody was roll call.
Well, I think we're complete. We have everybody.
Oh, I missed some names. I'm sorry.
Well, John's not.
Okay. All right. We have, can roll up the agenda, please, Sarah? Do we have any correspondence?
No, we do not.
Okay. Pat, the administrator's report.
The only administrator's report is the enrollment that's listed. We did not have, obviously, any drills during for the past month, but I just did want to let the board know that I attended a webinar regarding future drills, fire drills and security drills when we go live in September, hopefully. And fire drills are not going to be required, but because of the COVID, the social distancing, but the security drills are going to still be a requirement. And the way we will do security drills for a while is to do tabletop versions and ways to be creative so that we don't have to have large groups of kids evacuating the building. So we're already trying to plan for that. Just wanted to give you that update.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have the attendance. No suspensions. No hit violations.
Nope. You got it.
Is there any board discussion on any of the agenda items that are listed?
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I'll read them off.
Board discussion.
Oh, board discussion. I'm sorry.
Board discussion.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, Lisa. All right, hearing none, then we'll open up the meeting to the public to ask any questions of whether they're listed on the agenda or not.
I have questions.
Frank. No, there is some for
All right, go
discussion.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Lene?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a question about numbers 9 and 10 as far as the before school programs. Is that something that we still have the budget for this year, and how is that going to work with the
That is
schedule and everything?
Yep, that is written in the preliminary plan because Spanish 1 and Italian, first of all, it is in the budget. It was in the budget, Lene. And because both of those world languages can be done remotely, they will be done remotely. Where it's going to fit in the schedule, we still have not firmed that up. But we are offering Spanish 1 and Italian 1 remotely. Yes.
Okay, so that's still kind of in development as far as like how it will be scheduled and everything.
How it will be scheduled, yes, but it'll be done completely remotely.
And so what about the before school engineering?
Well, that that was also, I just read over the remote learning plan to make sure I included that, because pre-engineering is more of a hands-on, it's not more of, it is totally hands-on. We did not believe that we could be providing that during to keep social distancing, as well as in this remote learning. So we are not providing it as a before school program. There will be STEM A and STEM B embedded in the middle school program, in the middle school schedule during the day, but it cannot be a hands-on remote hands-on program that as long as we are partially remote, and also even in person trying to keep social distancing.
Okay, so as far as those students and parents who received an invitation to apply in the spring, are we going to be updating them with that information?
Yep, yes, you will, and that should be coming shortly, Mrs. Hill.
Okay. Sorry, I just had a couple more things.
No problem.
On motion I, well, motion H, which is about the restart plan. I don't see it in here somewhere, and you may have told us before, but I couldn't find it, about the CARES Act funding. How much did we receive as far as the CARES Act, and how is that being used to help with the restart plan?
So that is not written in the preliminary plan for reopening, because that's
Now
not.
you're cutting out.
Pardon me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear
Yes.
you.
Okay, so that was not written in the plan. It is not there, but we did have it approved before from memory.
Yes.
Most of the money was spent. We're trying to improve the remote learning that we had in spring. So we knew we had to up the number of devices that the children had. So we spent the money, we applied and were accepted to have the money spent for purchasing Chromebooks for the students in kindergarten and first grade. And then also we spent some of the money in getting cases. Now I'm going back in my memory, but I'm pretty sure, I know we are. Because the K through 5 students would be transporting their Chromebooks back and forth from home to school. We knew we had to get cases. Before, they used to always be docked and they weren't carried from room to room. So the children did have Chromebooks, so we purchased cases to protect the purchase of the Chromebooks. And then the final amount was for compensatory services that we might have to provide to some of our IEP students in the fall, based on what occurred in the spring in remote learning. And then finally, we had two teachers employed this summer to help the at-risk population of students who fell behind in reading due to the COVID remote learning. So that's how we spent the CARES Act.
Okay, but there's nothing that's going towards like PPE, hand sanitizer stations, anything?
No,
like
we
those?
cannot. Our focus was to try to improve, to make sure we were improving the delivery of the remote learning from what we had before. And the way we had to do that is to make sure that every child had a one-to-one device. We did not have that ability back in the spring, so that was our number one priority, is the one-to-one device as well as the cases for it. But PPEs, actually, I just signed off for the PPEs in a purchase order today. And the PPEs, we're hoping that we're applying to FEMA for partial funding through FEMA for those PPEs.
Okay, so you will be, if you receive that funding, you will be providing staff with PPE?
Oh, even if we don't receive the funding, we are purchasing face guards. And you know what, Lynette, I'll include that in the update on the FAQ that I'm sending out. Some of these questions are good. These are all the details that you tried, you think you know, but I mean, you know, but you forget to include. So yes, we are providing purchasing face guards for all of our staff, and we're asking all staff to also wear their own mask, but we will be providing masks for that. We're also asking parents to provide their own masks for children, but in case children forget, we will have masks for them. Gowns for the nurses, gowns for aides who have to change children, very young child. So we are all PPEs. We think we're addressing.
Okay. I have a question about motion I with the Eagles Farm busing elimination. So does Eagle Farms, if a student was in first grade, would they typically receive busing from Eagle Farms, or was that still considered courtesy when they were in first grade at CSS?
Eagle Farms is courtesy busing because it's under the 2 miles. The last month, the board agreed to eliminate the busing from 2nd through 8th grade, but they actually said for LES. And now the first grade is moving over to LES because of the remote learning and spreading out our children to make sure they are socially distanced. And we are limiting capacity for those 2 reasons. Now that's why the motion is on here to include first grade in that. Because the first grade will be transported at the same time in the 4-hour segment as LES. Whereas if they were still going to Center Square, those children are only going from 8:40 to 11 o'clock. So we couldn't transport them with that group.
Okay, but I guess I'm not understanding because there were several communities that the courtesy busing was eliminated, and they're all first graders are now going to be going to LES, right?
Right, but Eagle Farms was eliminated the way that Eagle Farms was only eliminated for grades 2 to 8. All those other developments were eliminated for Center Square. Eagle Farms was the courtesy busing that was eliminated for 2 to 8. But it basically said for children going to LES and LMS. I'm clarifying that part of the motion from last month, because at that point, when the board approved that, LES was only 2 to 5. Right now, we're transporting, because of the restart plan, 1 to 5. So that's why that part needs clarification. That is the only reason. All of the courtesy busing that was eliminated still stays from last month. This is the only thing. The only reason I'm putting this on is because that first grade group, I had to clarify to the board that because first grade is now going to LES, they will no longer be transported from Eagle Farms. So there are no changes in anything else.
Okay, so I guess my follow-up question is, especially on the survey results that you had shared with us as far as parents opting not to use the busing this year, are we perhaps cutting some of this courtesy busing prematurely? Because maybe we don't even need to be cutting all of this if
I do not.
They're going to drive their kids.
Yeah, I do not believe that we are. And actually, in the guidelines from the Department of Ed, that was one of the recommendations that they said to consider cutting courtesy busing. So we were ahead of the game in that way, that we anticipated the idea that no matter what, to only fit 11 kids on a bus. Right now, the recommendation is 11 kids on the bus, or in order to hit social distancing. We're not going to meet that, so that's why we're requiring masks. So even if a parent opts out, Renee, unless they sign a waiver, we have to save a seat on the bus for that child. So we might not be using the buses, but if parents opt in and out of remote learning and in-person learning, we have to save those seats for those people. So I do not believe that was a motion that was already board approved, and I do not believe we were jumping the gun. Actually, I think we were pretty ahead of the game in reducing the number of students that are on a bus trying to keep them socially distant.
Okay. Sorry to monopolize, but my final question is, when I looked at the agenda previously, I had seen a motion about the vacancy, and I don't see it now. So I was just wondering what's going on with that.
We checked into, you mean for the board position?
Yes.
We checked into the board policy and we accidentally did not follow board policy, so that motion was withdrawn.
So is there now, like, what are we doing next?
So now, but when I checked into the board policy, it is that we have to advertise it to the public, and that's what we'll be doing for the next 2 weeks.
Okay, got it.
Yep. When we
Okay.
found a mistake, Lene, we fixed it.
Gotcha.
It was a mistake.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Pat, I do have a question about the kids coming back, and I probably missed this too. Can you hear me okay?
Sure, Carolyn.
Okay, so the parents who opt out and don't want to send their kids back, what is going to happen with them? And I know it's somewhere, there was a lot of reading in there, but
Actually, that part was not addressed, and I want to explain to you as well to everybody of why it was not addressed. Because last Thursday was when we sent out the plan. It was not until Friday that the remote learning guidelines were sent out to us. So even though the governor made the announcement last Monday that remote learning was able to be open to everyone, we were putting the plan together, and we wanted to get it out on Thursday. We did not know when the guidelines were coming out. They came out on Friday. So now we are addressing the remote learning based on that, and we are in again the preliminary stage, because this is very fluid and keeps on changing. But at this point, and this is going to be answered in the FAQ that I'm putting out. Again, we're taking all of the questions that people gave in the survey, and we're sending out new frequently asked questions to enhance that first document that we sent out, and that will be sent out on Monday. And even though we're asking parents to complete the first survey, that will not be that's not a permanent answer. That was just to get a feel. So to respond to a community member that asked, how can you answer those survey questions and still don't know about remote learning? We will be sending out, once I send out the new frequently asked questions, we will be sending out the new survey and asking parents that when they have more information. Now, Carolyn, to answer your question, we have not firmed up definitely how we're going to be. Well, let me put it this way. The children whose parents opt for the remote learning, we are in a good place for that. The way we are setting up our in-person instruction, and this is for everyone to understand. It might not have been super clear in the preliminary plans, and I will make it clearer again when I send it out the next time around. But we are taking every class, and the class is coming in all together and I'll take, for example, a 4th grade class. The entire class comes in on Monday and Tuesday. So their teachers are teaching on Monday and Tuesday. Their teachers are not teaching in person on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So all of those children will be learning at home, and we will having live sessions at home. So and we did not have live sessions at home often during remote learning back in the spring. So that's how we've enhanced it. Now, if we're working on right now, and this has been this past week, that if a child opts to be remote learning, we are hoping that what we will be doing is live, and I'm trying to use the right words, it's not live streaming, and Jake would be proud of me, it's video conferencing. So the teacher would be teaching in the classroom, half of her class would be with her, her partner teacher would be across the hall with the other half. We have to do that to keep social distancing and limiting capacity, because we would have too many kids in the classroom if not. So they're both learning the same lesson with the video conferencing that's going on. Those two teachers are working together in planning and teaching. The children at home from that same class whose parents opted not to send them, they also could be video conferencing at the same time. So because we had the entire grade coming in on Monday and Tuesday for 4th grade, they all could be getting the large group instruction, the video conferencing at the same time, whether they're in person or at home. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they would all be involved in video conferencing for small groups, led by the teacher for live conferencing. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, no, it does. I have a pretty good idea. I knew we had to provide something, and I wasn't sure how we were going to do it.
because we did not take entire grade and say A to L on Monday, Tuesday, and M to Z on Thursday, Friday, if we had done that, the teacher would have been teaching 4 days in person and would not be able to have live sessions during the remote instruction. So
Right.
we stand at a good spot because of the way we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking about the information you shared with us earlier about the bill or the action that might be coming through.
Yes.
All of this may be for naught anyway. So
Well, yeah, and again, we stand in a good spot because we just take the plan that we have and move it
Mhm.
all to remote learning. If we don't,
we can go either way. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
and then
Yeah.
if we're told in November to come back into in-person and do a hybrid again, we have that ability.
Right. Yep. Yep. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? All right, now this is the time to open the meeting up to the public. You can ask any question on any item, whether it's listed on the agenda or not. This ensures the public an opportunity to have input prior to any action being taken. So Pat, you have the questions?
Yeah, Lisa's going to read them and then I will respond.
Okay.
Okay.
Lisa, is that good?
Yep. The first question is from Jennifer Boston, 48 Stone Mill Way, Logan Township. Her question: thank you to the staff and administration involved in the planning of the upcoming school year. You have a nearly impossible task and we are appreciative of your time and effort. If we choose a fully remote option for our children, how long will they be participating in the model? 1 marking period, 2 marking periods? At what time will we have an opportunity, if necessary, to decide if we'd like to have them move to the hybrid instructional model?
That's a very good question, Mrs. Boston. And I believe that because we have the entire grade coming in on 2 days and then that teacher teaching remotely, but in live video conferencing on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the administration just today, actually yesterday, talked about this. And we believe that it's not going to take a whole lot of time for a child to transition if a child's doing all remote and then and the parent wants to have the child rejoin in person. So it would take a few days, we believe. We are hoping not to go back and forth, that once a child moves from one environment to another, that they stay there for a length of time. But that if there's a rationale that the parent shares with us why that something else needs to be considered, we would consider it. We have not determined that it has to be 1 marking period, 2 marking periods. We don't believe we have to do that because we don't have different teachers assigned to remote learning versus in person. The teacher that's teaching in person to her class, whether they're at home or not, is going to be teaching to them so we think it's going to be an easy transition. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, next question is from Mary Kate Giretti. I want to thank all of the teachers that my pre-K 3rd grade and 6th grade children had last year. They all went above and beyond to provide academic support as well as social interaction. An unprecedented time for all. I particularly want to recognize Lauren Clip for her daily videos with special shout outs to her pre-K students to keep them engaged in learning. In light of the state mandating 100% remote learning program, I have a few questions. Will there be teachers designated solely to teach remote learning students and not to be part of hybrid teaching? How
Okay,
will remote
stop right there. If you can stop right there, I'll address that one. As I just stated to Mrs. Boston in the previous one, all of our classrooms, because the entire grade is coming in, there are 2 partner teachers assigned to 1 classroom. They're going to be split. If they're coming in person, they're going to be split between 2 classrooms to keep capacity down. But those children who are in that classroom, but whose parents opt to be home instead of coming to school, they will be taught by that same teacher in a video conferencing done while they're at home, and they will be able to listen in to that video conference. The teacher is teaching that large group instruction. So no, there is not. We don't have to have the model that there's a separate teacher just assigned to remote learning. And then on the 3 days of remote learning, that teacher who teaches the children in person will be teaching all the children, whether they're remote or not, together. Okay.
The next part of her question is, how will remote learning look different from what was done in the spring? Will teachers be doing live instructions and students follow? Just got cut off. Yeah, after.
We'll be doing live instruction and students following a similar schedule to what their peers in the hybrid model will be doing. It came out here. So the answer is the difference the way it will look different than the spring. There will be live video conferencing on remote days. We did not have that much of it with any other in the spring. So that's how we've enhanced our remote learning. We've really worked on that. That's one of the reasons why we spent the CARES Act money on making sure that we ordered devices one-on-one for all children K through 8 so that all children have that ability to participate in live video conferencing with their teachers on a daily basis, whether they remote all the time, remote 3 days, or in person 2 days.
And the rest of what she asks is, I believe the parents, guardians need to see the actual plan for reopening before a decision is made as to whether or not their child will attend in-person school. FAQs should be sent before the due date for the survey. How is in-person instruction going to look?
Can I answer that one part first? So the FAQ, so again, and I apologize if I didn't make that clear. This is the survey that we sent out is just a preliminary survey. There will be, so the FAQs are answering the frequently asked questions, are answering the most frequently asked questions and providing answers. Then we will be sending out another survey to parents to update that, to get us an update on now where are they at. And I will tell you that last Thursday when we sent out the survey, we really could not, we wanted to highlight the hybrid model. We wanted to emphasize that, and we had no particulars or details given by the DOE at that point. They didn't come out till Friday. Now we do, so we can provide more clarity.
Okay. She also says there was rumors that some students will be watching their teacher on a smart board, and if that is the case, why you didn't send your child?
Okay, so the entire classroom is coming in. They will be divided into 2 classes. The entire class is coming in. They will be divided in 2 classes with partner teachers in one teacher in one room, one teacher in the other. They are partner teachers. They will be facilitating the instruction. However, one person might be taking the lead. So that's why the children in the other classroom would be watching the teacher on a webcam while that main teacher, that one teacher is teaching. And then at times, those 2 teachers will flip as needed. So that's all in the planning stage. We're not planning on students flipping, but teachers will. So that's why we want children in live, because the student, even if they're watching the one teacher teaching for that one lesson via webcam, there is still a live teacher answering their questions, guiding them in that classroom. And also, we believe that in person, it allows the cohort, that small cohort that's in a classroom of students, to interact with each other and listen to ideas, even though they're sitting in separate desks.
Pat, I have a question about that real quick. This is Lene.
Sure.
So that second teacher that's going to be in the other room with the smart board, that's going to be a content area teacher or special area?
It depends, Lene. We are trying to maximize the use of all of our staff. So in the case, and I please don't quote me. I mean, you could quote me on this, but it might, I don't have it all memorized and I don't have the schedules in front of me. Each of our principals do. But in the case of science, for example, partner teachers could be Ann Brooke and Jace Duttweiler. Both have science. They're both science people. But in other cases, it might be Randa Hogate, a 4th grade teacher, and Kathy Ottinger, the music teacher. But they would be, so Randa Hogate would be taking the main part up when she was teaching ELA. Kathy would be with a group of kids, a group of students in the opposite room, but then they would flip as needed. We're still working out the details, but we really believe that was the way we're handling limited capacity and still keeping that social distancing. That was the only way we could do it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question, Rebecca Lena, 107 Liberty Court. How will classroom sizes be spaced out? How will teachers cover classes? Will teachers be dedicated to class area of expertise? Will students have consistent teachers?
Okay, consistent teachers, yes. Will they have area level expertise? Yes. They might be supported by someone who is not an area level teacher for oversight when the classrooms are in the classes are in two different classrooms, but they will be partner teachers. So there will always be a chance for the content person to be leading the main instruction. Other part, what did I not answer in that? I can't find it right now. Maybe it's further down. Which one is it? Which part did I not answer?
I think you got them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, how will class sizes be spaced out?
We have 24 students in a class. We have 12 students in each classroom, opposite across from the hall from each other. The desks are spaced out according to the guidelines set by the DOE, that they are separate with more than 6 feet, up to 6 feet apart, and students are wearing masks. Did I answer everything?
I think so. And next question from Denise Kane, 220 Abbey Lane. For younger students who plan to attend in person, for younger students who plan to attend in person, but whose childcare arrangements on virtual learning days will not allow them to log in specific times, will there be asynchronous learning options, or daycare cannot guarantee that he will be able to log in and have assistance? They also do not allow individual electronic devices.
Our expectation for our students is when they are not in school for live instruction, that they will need to be on a device for live video conferencing. That was an overwhelming response from parents who responded to the spring learning situation, that just doing remote programs and having children on that, and not having those live conferences and live video conferences with teachers was not the way we wanted to go. For the very, very young students, that's one of the reasons we're bringing the children in every day, so that there's more interaction with the teacher and they see them daily. I can't answer what happens if daycare does not allow an individual electronic device. I stand before you not knowing all the answers.
Okay. Rebecca Leno again. Will virtual learning be more of a live teaching scenario versus modules and apps?
That's exactly what most parents wanted. Yes, it will be more live video conferencing and not just dependent on apps and modules. Yes.
Okay, next question. Megan Hernandez, 34 Andrew Court. On the agenda, the motion to approve the district's preliminary restart plan is listed. Does this mean you plan to vote prior to responding to parents' requests to be contacted via the survey that was on July 23rd? If so, what type of message is that sending to the community?
So the survey is to ask parents which program they want to be part of. The hybrid learning, the remote learning, and that's what it is asking, the survey. The plan, it has to be into to the county office to be approved for compliance purposes, and then we have to release it to the parents a month before. So that is why. So we're not asking the input. That one of the things was the input that the parents gave us on the questions, helped guided us to be able to provide in our FAQ more detail, more depth into what the plan is, and that's where we are.
Okay, the next question, Allison Hanna. Tonight's agenda includes approving 2 before-school foreign language programs for the 2021 school year. Considering the current plan for very limited in-person school hours, how are these before-school programs going to be conducted?
So that sounded like similar to a question Lene asked. They are definitely going all remote, the foreign language. It will. I can't tell you specifically if it'll be 4 hours or yet. I don't have that answer. I don't want to guide you in the wrong direction, but it's definitely going to be all remote. And you know what? I'll make sure that that's in my frequently asked questions in the answers for that.
Hello, Pat.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Lisa. This is Kim. I think one of the things that I'm not hearing from both of the questions from the audience as well as Lene is that the agenda says before school.
Yes.
And so.
Oh.
That's the key, is they're asking how you're going to do that prior to formal instruction starting, or
Okay.
how is that going to work?
Okay, so we took the motion, thank you, Kim. We took the motion from last year. So last year they were called before school. That's when they were given. Italian 1 and Spanish 1 were before school. They were period 0. So probably we just copied that motion and just repeated it. It will not, I can't say to you, it's definitely going to be before school. I will look into that and get you the schedule. Thank you, Kim, for clarifying what that question was.
Next question, Katie Halpin. Thank you, everyone, for all your hard work trying to get our kids back safely. My question concerns the partner teachers that were mentioned. Are middle school teachers helping to teach the elementary age students and vice versa? Since students will be split into smaller sections, I'm assuming you don't have enough teachers for each grade level. Can you clarify? Thank you.
My question concerns partner teachers mentioned, are middle school helping to teach the element? No. Well, no. Okay, let me just think about this. Middle school teachers, on the day that the elementary students are in, will be teaching their middle school students remotely. So no, the middle school teachers will not be teaching when the elementary students will be in. There might be some special area teachers that are helping the elementary teachers out during that time, but not middle school teachers, and vice versa. During the middle school teaching, the in-person, the elementary teachers will be doing remote learning and video conferencing with their students, so they can't be teaching middle school. We have stretched every teaching staff member we have, so that when we split the classes in half, they are always overseen by a teacher. And then whether they're a content area person or not, but the content area person will take the lead in that instruction. And their work of partners. So that's why we need the webcam, so that the content area specialist, whether it's in 3rd grade or 7th grade, will take the lead when doing the content specialist, the content. Hopefully that answers that question.
Next question, Adrian Gerard, 22 Buttonwood Place. Thank you for taking the time to answer our questions and to help put us at ease. I am hearing several rumors in town that the buses won't be operating this year. Is this true?
No, it is not true. We do have the only routes that will not be operating are the ones that were eliminated, and they were some courtesy busing routes that were eliminated and approved by the board last month.
Next question, Stephanie Doherty, 302 Mockingbird Lane. Was a model for putting siblings in the same cohort explored? There are several families of students in both elementary and middle school, and the current plan makes it extremely difficult for working families such as ours.
It was explored. It was tossed around a lot and thought about a lot before we came to the final decision of where we went. We had three principles in mind when we were putting together a plan, and it was with lots of careful thought and input from a wide range of staff members. One was, and also the DOE guidelines. The first one is the health and safety of our students, staff, and community. And based on that first principle, we had to socially distance, and we had to limit capacity. So we had to reduce the number of students in the classroom compared to what it was presently. But the second principle was the continuity of quality. The continuity of quality teaching and learning, and how best to accommodate the needs of our students while keeping all students academically engaged. That was a high priority for us, and that is why we ended up not having students putting siblings in the same cohort. And let me explain this to you. Try to put it this way. We have all the elementary students, and the reason we can do this is because we have 2 schools attached together in one building. So we are very fortunate that we can take over our elementary grades now this year, 1 through 5, can take over 2 schools, and we close down the middle school, and they are at home remotely. And all those 1 through 5 grades are spread out, so we're reducing capacity in each classroom, and we're using all of our elementary teachers at that time for the in-person. Then the next 3 days, they are all remote. So therefore, all of the students are on the same page and the same level. If we had a split by cohorts, by families, which a lot of schools did, because they don't have the benefit of that huge building that we have that has 2 schools. What would happen is our elementary teachers would be teaching Monday and Tuesday to half of the group, and then Thursday and Friday to the other half of the group. And therefore, they would not be able to be leading video conferencing, live video conferencing to those kids who were at home. And we think that is a benefit.
Next question, Stacy Collins, 8 Brookridge Drive. I'm concerned with the privacy of the students in class if the remote learners are watching the video conference lessons. How will you, students' faces will not be for privacy reasons, and teachers will not utilize verbal classroom management so that if a child needs to be reprimanded of the rules, it is not projected to homes.
Right. That's a very good question, and we are realizing that this is something that we have not done before. So I don't stand before you as if I have all the answers to all the questions. I do know that we believe that video conferencing, having live sessions, is critical for students and families. Our goal is to have, when a teacher is teaching the content, to have the webcam on the teacher, not on the students. And then the teacher would give the students time to work individually, and the webcam would not be on those students. That's the model right now in our minds. We're still working on that. But the webcam of the teacher being video conferencing live is really focused on the teacher when the teacher's leading that instruction.
Pat, I have a follow-up question to that. So if you're the student who is physically in the classroom, if you're able to, ask questions of the teacher and interact with the teacher, et cetera, how is the student who is at home doing, remote learning, are they going to be able to ask questions and interact? How will that?
That's a very good question, Lene. So right now the model is that the large group instruction goes on, teaches a lesson. We call it a mini lesson. And then the teacher gives an assignment, and both teachers in both rooms would be walking around. The children at home would also be given that assignment at the same time, who are doing remote learning. Now, later on that day, when the children who are in person go home at 12:15, and after the teacher has their lunch, and their prep time, then they still have some time, and that is the time that we plan that the teacher would be interacting with those children at home, giving them feedback.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next question, Erin Myers. How will teachers be able to benchmark?
Benchmark reading levels. That is when they're in person. Let me stop stuttering. When the children are in person, that is when formative assessment and most assessments will take place, when they are in person. I don't have an answer to you yet for those children who are all remote learning, because that's going to be a challenge. But we'll handle it. Okay, next question.
Let's see. Again, Mrs. Myers, what is the policy procedure if a student, employee, teacher tests positive for COVID? What are the consequences for children who continually refuse to maintain safety guidelines and procedures? What happens with kids who come to school sick, coughing, sneezing, etc.?
Okay, so we follow the CDC and the DOH guidelines for those questions. So if a child or a teacher is tested positive for COVID, and I'm looking at my notes because I'm not a medical person, that person will be in isolation away from school for the number of days required by the CDC and DOH. And isolation means you keep the sick person restricted to home, separate from healthy people for the duration of the infection, which is 2 days prior to onset of symptoms and at least 10 days after onset of illness. So that answers that question. What are the consequences for children who continually refuse to maintain safety guidelines and procedures? If we are requiring masks and keeping social distance and children do not, they will be sent home. We are not accepting that is just not, masks are a requirement. That doesn't mean that we give children mask breaks. when they're socially distant from someone if they need that break. But they have to wear masks, and that is just a guideline. That's to keep everyone safe. What happens with kids who come to school sick? If any of the children show any of the symptoms, they are sent to the nurse immediately, and parents will be called immediately to pick up their child, and the child will be kept in isolation until that parent picks up the child. We are really going to try to work with parents that know that they have to have alternate phone numbers ready, that person is ready to be picked up. We can't have children who even show any symptoms. The number one thing is to keep the child home. If you think your child is home, that child should stay at home. But if a child shows any symptoms, we send that child home.
Pat, this is Kim. Can I ask a follow-on question to that?
Sure.
So in regards to that, I believe the plan mentioned an app that the parents would have to download. So how does that policing, for lack of a better word, portion of the question that Lisa just asked, how does the app play into that? Or how do you all envision the app playing into that?
Right. So the RUVNA app is not something that the parents have to download. It's what we have. So the parents will be, and again, and I have my IT people listening in, so they will not correct me now, but we will fix it. If I say anything wrong, it'll be addressed correctly in the FAQ. But the RUVNA app is to assist the district in gathering the screening data daily. Parents and guardians will be sent either a text or an email message asking them to complete a short screening survey on a daily basis. And then that RUVNA app will report which parents responded or did not respond. So what it does is it just, because that's the guidelines from the DOH, is that we should have some screening in place. And so we are hoping that this screening at least eliminates the majority, puts the onus on the parent for the majority of the children coming. And then if the child has not completed the screening, and we still haven't worked this out, but there's a possibility that every child will have a QR code. So when they come in, we'll be able to see who was screening, whose parents responded, whose parents did not respond. And then the nurses will be involved in having those children, before they go to the homeroom, checked out by the nurse to make sure they don't have any symptoms. So that's where we're at right now. But it's not that the parents have to download the app. It's that the app provides us in gathering the screening data that the parents provide us through a text or an email. Okay?
Yes.
I have a question. Sorry. I'm sorry, Mrs. Reed. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
So so not the app, but is the text or email message, if that's not completed, and I think you were going in and out, but I think if I heard you correctly, you said that the QR code would alert you all to that it has not been completed, and the nurse would then intervene. Is that correct?
Yes, that is my understanding of the plan right now, and I will verify that with our IT people.
Okay, so if the nurse then intervenes, is that when, and if you don't know, it's fine, but I noticed that you also said you were not doing temperature checks. Yeah. Would a temperature check be done then?
It could be, but it could be if the nurse believes that there's any possible problem. Like the screening is a visual screening. So or a questioning of that child. If the nurse sees any reason, absolutely she would take a temperature check. And the nurses are actually talking right now about doing random temperature checks just of children randomly as they come in, just as another precaution. So I am sure that if a child was not screened by its parent and was sent in, and the nurse sees, screens visually, that a temperature check could very easily be part of that.
So I saw that about, and this is my last point, Mrs. Hill. So I saw that about the random, and I would like to, in the spirit of all the work we have done for equity, just make sure that when we do that, one, perhaps suggest we find a different word, and then two, make sure that we're very clear about that process. and how it's being determined, just so that there's no perception that there's some bias,
Yep,
if you understand what I'm
yes,
saying.
I do. I appreciate that, and I'm trying to look for that. There was somewhere where I think random is a poor choice of words, and I think it was like maybe the one child number 1, 10, and 20. It would not be random. There would be a method to it. So
Right.
I hear what you're saying, Kim.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
So I think Mrs. Meyer's question also raises the question as far as quarantining, and if a child in the classroom tests positive, are the parents then in that classroom going to be notified? Is there going to be sort of quarantining? I don't feel like those kinds of things were really addressed. I mean, I did see in the plan it said less than 6 feet for less than 10 minutes, but how can you really guarantee that the kids were 6 feet the entire time? I mean,
Well,
that's
the contact tracing that goes on, and the DOH would be guiding the nurses in that contact tracing. But we have to follow the DOH and the CDC guidelines there. So it's determining who was in close contact. That's the contact tracing. Our nurses would be those contact tracers. And that's why we're keeping children in those cohorts. So in a classroom, they're not moving around, they're not going to lunchroom, they're going to the bathroom. Yeah, so it depends. But I can't answer you any more than with other than if the contact tracing that is done by the nurse under the guidance of the DOH, they might decide that the entire 10 children or 12 children in that cohort have to be quarantined, or they might decide that there were only 4 or 5. So that would be the results of the contact tracing.
okay.
Okay. Okay, Lisa, you want to continue?
Next
you
question.
okay? You okay? Okay.
I mean,
Next.
I hear your response. I just, personally, to me, I think anybody that's in that room at some point was probably less than 6 feet. I don't think there's any way that you can guarantee that they're in a room together for 4 hours and they stayed 6 feet apart the entire time.
And Lene, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying that's not going to happen. Right now, because this has never taken place before, we have to go by what the CDC is saying to us. But if any child was tested positive, and we have to then decide on contact tracing and involve contact tracing, the DOH will be guiding us completely. And they are the medical experts. So I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense what you're saying. And I would not say that is not that it wouldn't, especially that there's only 10 kids in the class. It's nice that there's only 10. There's not 20. So it could be that all of those 10 kids are quarantined, but I can't say that for sure.
And what about if a student just has, mild symptoms, just a sniffle, a cough, or whatever the case might be, the parent keeps them home, they want to or feel the need to take them to get tested. I don't know. Like, to me, that would be a concern too, because maybe they have it, maybe they don't, maybe they just have a regular common cold. Like,
right. And that is
at saying that they need to be tested. They don't need to be tested. They can come back to school. They can't come back to school.
Well, if they have any symptoms, Lene, they have to be sent home. Okay. Then in order to come back, they would have to at minimally have a doctor's note, saying that they do not have COVID. And if there were any chance that they'd have to have COVID testing. So I will clarify those. I'm meeting with the nurses on Friday, so I will clarify those things, because those are all the what ifs, and we have to, we continue to look to the medical people, the DOH and the CDC for that support. But if a child has a symptom, they are going to be sent home. But that doesn't mean they have to be quarantined for 14 days if they only have a symptom and the doctor says that is not COVID. But the question is about the COVID testing, and I don't have an answer for you right now. Okay? I have to tell you, I am crossing all lines of expertise right now. Moving from education to medical areas and everything else. So I am doing the best with a lot of feedback from, I have not only me, but my administration has attended every possible webinar to keep informed. But I will tell you, things keep on changing, and that's why things are fluid. So just to let you know that. Okay, any more questions?
Next question from Matt Paladinetti, 52 Stone Mill Way. Are the video conferencing sessions that are being taught two-way video, meaning that teachers and students will able to see each other?
Video conferencing is, so live streaming is what we're doing tonight. Video conferencing, teachers and students will be able to see each other. Yes. And if I'm wrong, Jake Neary's going to be telling me that or not. But keep on going. Ask me the next question.
Next question, Jason Lano, 107 Liberty Court. Why has the decision been made not to have a wellness check every day for all staff and students?
Again, following CDC guidelines and not having children. First of all, we are doing the best we can with that. In the fact that we don't want to have a large group of children. How would we bring them in when they come in from their parents' cars, from walking, and from the bus? So that's why we're doing the screening at home from parents, and that is an approved method that the DOE and the DOH is approving, so that parents are taking part of this responsibility. We do not have the staff, and we could not do personal screening of all 870 children of ours. We just couldn't. Okay, next question.
Aaron Myers, 33 Stone Mill Way. Socialization is a big reason to send our kids, but how would that look with the rules and regulations in place? Are they in their desks, 6 feet apart all day long, no groups or breaks to walk around or recess time?
At this point, that is, they are in their desks. They stand up under direction of the teacher. They move around under the direction of the teacher, but keeping socially distant. That's our goal: is to keep socially distant from the other children in the class. That we do not plan on taking children out to recess. Obviously, we're not going to have them sit the entire time. So we have expert teachers who've been working with children for years. And so they will know how to monitor that, and that's why we're only keeping them for 4 hours, because it is a lot for children not to move around too much at what they're used to doing. We're trying to provide that in-person instruction, that socialization with the teacher, socialization with each other, and the fact that they're exchanging ideas in the same class. Go ahead, next question.
Hi, excuse me. I'm sorry. It's Kim again. For those of you who are not on mute, if you could silence your phones, there's some extraneous noise that's distracting to those who are doing the YouTube live stream. Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Rebecca Lena, 107 Liberty Court. Will nurse staff be increased? Why
No.
not?
Why not? We did not have it in the budget. We believe that our 3 nurses, we will be able to maintain to do what we need to do. However, I don't know if you saw on the agenda tonight, we are contracting with a professional medical. I can't remember what their name of their company is, in case we needed extra nurses. But right now, because we're only having half of our students in at one time, I think that will help also.
Couple parts to her question. Why not temperature check everyone?
We couldn't do it. And very few districts are doing temperature checks. That was not a recommendation by the DOE, the DOH, or the CDC.
Who is responsible to decide if contact tracing is necessary?
The DOH will tell us that if a child comes across with COVID positive. And I have to tell you, the way I'm responding right now, please, I am not taking this lightly. I do not want the community to. We are praying, working to make sure none of our students are COVID positive, but it would be the DOH that would be involved in helping us contact us.
How do you guarantee the children and staff are social distance?
We have one teacher assigned to attend no more than 12 children in a class. We have expert teachers who have been working with children for a long time. We can't guarantee. That's true. but we will work hard to make sure that they're social distancing the way we've set this up. Just by having half of the class in one room, half of the class in the other limits capacity. Next question.
The last part of her question is HVAC and air quality purification and plans for improvement?
We are in consultation with our facilities manager about HVAC. We are there right now. There are no plans for improvement, but we are checking the air quality. Next question.
Next question, Pittrich. How are we expected to get children tested? Right now, results are 2-week wait. This does not seem realistic.
I hear that. I don't know what's going to happen in a month. I just know that if a child is, if it's a requirement that the child has to be tested, the child has to be tested. I can't. I sympathize with the fact that testing is not more readily available right now. Next question.
Mr. Jason Lano, please answer why staff is not getting wellness checks. Did you hire more sanitation engineers?
So staff will be doing the same type of screening beforehand. We are saying to staff that if there's any symptoms that they have, they stay at home. Did we hire more sanitation engineers? No, we did not. We were budgeted for a certain amount. We have this, but we will tell you that we do have a plan that our facilities manager is working on to deep clean rooms. Once rooms are used, there are some rooms that will not be used after Monday, Tuesday. They will be deep cleaned and then they will be closed off. So there is a very solid plan that's being put in place for cleaning to make sure that we're using the custodians that we have, maximizing them. I will tell you that part of the FEMA application that Sarah, Bob Harrison, and I filled out this week was putting in for additional extended time for the custodians that we have, just in case we need to have more time for them to clean. Next question.
Next, Amy Powell, will teachers be scheduling with each other their live remote sessions to avoid conflict? Spring session had a lot of conflict and it frustrates students to have to make a choice with live session to attend.
Yes, absolutely. The director of curriculum instruction, Dr. Christy Jansen, is working with the principals. She has a pretty good schedule that will be part of the FAQ that comes out on Monday that will show that sample schedules that will show how we are really trying to make sure that there's not conflict that students have to choose. Okay, so that is, we're working on that. One more question.
One more question, Amy Powell. Last year's teachers had too many ways to communicate with parents and students remotely. Emails, Google Classroom, streams, and apps. If you didn't check all locations throughout the messages would be missed. Could it be more?
Yeah, I would say in everything that we're doing, we're trying to improve it on how remote learning took place in spring. I just hope that the community realizes that that was thrust upon us. Nobody ever had a thought that it would last the entire spring. So we are working. Everything that we're doing, everything that we're planning is to improve not only instruction, remote instruction, having more live video conferencing, but also trying somebody's microphone. It wasn't mine because I just turned mine off. So we are working to streamline and improve. Every teacher and student is going to have access once they're trained on Google Classroom, including KM1. We did not have that last year. So we do believe we are improving. Okay, that's it, I think.
I'm sorry, Pat, I do have one more question. It just popped in my head. Assuming that there won't be any after-school programs next year, is that a correct assumption, or you haven't gotten that far yet?
At this point, we are not planning any after-school programs. Our goal is to get through the main instruction, to get kids in and out safely, and not to have after-school programs.
Right, and that's what I was thinking.
We might do some after-school programs remotely if we could.
That's what I was going to ask you, because I know one of the reasons that I'm hearing from a lot of parents is, that children go back to school for their social emotional development. I know we have a lot of clubs that really focus on that, like
Yep.
our LGBTQ
Yep.
club. Sorry if I'm calling the name wrong.
Mentoring, yep. Anything that we can do online, remotely, we will definitely try to do that.
Okay.
Okay, that is a goal of ours.
Okay.
Will this meeting be posted to the website? The minutes of the meeting, and God bless the board secretary who's taking the minutes to this. That once the minutes are reviewed, they will be and approved. They're posted. Yes. Okay. One more question just popped up.
Let me format it so you could read it real quick. Here we go. Lisa, are you able to read that last one, or do you want me to do it?
Yep, I'm sorry. I just turned my microphone off for a second. Here we go. Aaron Myers, I know the school is deep cleaned on Wednesdays, but what are the policies during the open school day, especially for high contact areas? Will kids have their own supplies and nothing shared? Will items be left at school or brought home daily?
Children's own supplies will be brought home daily. As far as I think, we're planning right now, they will have their own supplies. There will be very limited sharing. Anything that is shared, and in pre-K and K, there will be some sharing, will be wiped in between both cohorts, cleaned. We have in between the morning session and afternoon session, cleaning of tables, desks, chairs by our aides. Bathrooms are cleaned by custodians. All high-touch areas are being cleaned throughout the day. Deep cleaning is occurring not only on Wednesday, but on Friday, as soon as the students leave for cohort B, so that's clean for cohort A to come in on Monday. Okay?
Okay, that's it on the questions.
Okay, thanks to all the public for submitting questions, and Pat, nice job on answering those questions.
I have a great team behind me.
Finance reports. The Finance Committee met last night virtually, and we went over the reports, and we're recommending to the board that they adopt reports and the bill list as shown. Any other further discussion from the board on any of the agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we need a motion to accept the minutes of the June meeting. All of the action items as shown, the financial reports and the bill list.
Question.
Yes, Kim.
So, do we need to make a correction to the
Oh, yes.
motion
Yes, you're right. We need to change the, I made a note and I forgot to mention it. The before school programs, you need to strike the word.
Thank you, Frank. We're symbiotic there, Frank. Yes.
Strike the word before in both those motions, please. Okay.
Yep, great. Thanks for
So
picking that up.
I move.
Then we need a second.
Second.
Okay, so Brian, and a roll call, please.
Mr. Donnelly,
Yes.
Mrs. Kegler,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
No to H, no to I, and yes to everything else.
Mrs. Lombardo is absent. Mrs. Mason is absent. Mrs. Reed?
I'm sorry, because I was trying to move and realized I don't have access to do that. Yes to everything except for the plan, whichever number that is, or letter that is, please.
Mr. Russell? Is Mr. Russell still with us?
Yeah, he's still there.
There.
John?
If it's the audio on the phone, do *6 to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes. How do you vote on the action items?
Yes, I said yes.
Thank you. That's everybody.
Thank you, Sarah. Now we go on to the work clubs and, the after-school activities are Kingsway. You can move the agenda up. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Almost there. There we go.
Okay. Clutch County School Boards, there's nothing going on there until, I guess, September, October. Carolyn, anything for the New Jersey school boards?
No, nothing that we haven't talked about already. No.
All right, Christian's not here, so no, nothing on homeschool. On Kingsway, we met last Thursday, and Kingsway announced their plan. First thing is they're going to delay the opening of the high school by 2 hours from their normal start time. They're going to do cohorts. Cohort A would be alphabetically A to LA, and that's meeting Monday and Tuesday in person. Cohort B, LB to Z, they'll meet Thursday and Friday. Wednesday is deep clean for school, and it's virtual day only. And they just started announced that cohort B, which is virtual only, and they're going to do PE virtually only. And they somehow expect about 3% of their students to choose to stay home from school and do virtual learning. Okay.
Frank, what was the rationale for the later start?
Because remember, Kingsway supplies all the buses for all the elementary schools that go East Greenwood, South Harrison, Swedesboro, Woolwich. So they need to transport those kids to their respective schools, and they use the same buses, the same as we do. They have different tiered buses. So the high school and middle school had to start later.
Well, I'm just going to interject. Honestly, that was a joint decision, Lene. We really worked together, Kingsway and the elementary districts, when we first had to figure out this plan. That was the beginning part of it, of how could we transport. Once we were all moving in the direction of limited time so that we could not have to have kids eat together in lunch in the cafeteria, then it was a matter of how we were going to do that. And that was really, I have to tell you, I was really proud of the work we did together in that way, that Jim listened to the elementary districts, we listened to Jim, and we all came to some consensus and I think Jim was leaning in the direction of moving his students to coming in later anyway, because of the research pointing in that direction. So that really helps out in that way. So we in our case for Logan, we have 3 tiers. So our Kingsway transportation group used to be tier A. They're now moved to tier C. So our first tier of busing will be dropping off kids at LEMS. Our second tier of busing will be Center Square. And then Jim worked with us to make sure that his kids come at 9:30. So we have to get our kids off at Center Square and then start picking up the Kingsway kids and get them over to Kingsway by 9:30. So it was a coordinated effort. It wasn't random. Originally he had said 10. I was hoping more for 10 because it would give us a little more breathing point for the buses to drop off Center Square and then pick up Kingsway students. But it was a joint effort of trying to coordinate our busing together.
Have we heard anything from GCIT about their start times?
Yes, they're not in our tier system, and right. I believe they are doing regular time.
Okay.
I spoke to Mike, and I'm pretty sure he said that.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Frank, do you know if Kingsway is having sports or activities?
They're still debating that. I guess they're waiting for some direction from the State Athletic Association.
Yeah, Lene, I think that yesterday we were on our superintendent's conference call at the time, and Jim announced that, and don't quote me this one, I'm pretty sure they said that all 4 fall sports were canceled. That's what I heard. So we'll check on that. But
okay, thank you.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the part that is so hard right now, is that fluidity, that it just you think you've got a plan together, and then the next part comes out. So yeah. And it's because of COVID. It's no one's fault. It's because of the worry of what's happening with COVID.
Yes. Is there any new business?
No, we have too much to do with this plan.
Any old business to discuss? Okay, then I guess we're finished here. So we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All
Second.
those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And good night, everyone. Thank you for all attending and